Welcome back, YouTube. We're going to talk about some pivotal points here for this current trend that we're on, just because we're in much in the middle of a few different indicators here, but things overall are still shaping up to look bullish. So we're going to talk about the infamous marks here of around 15 cents, 18 cents, and 22 cents, and ultimately what those look like and some things that we need to be looking for. So ultimately where we are now, it kind of shaped up what we talked about as far as we're using the 14-day as support. We have not concluded out of this zone, which is actually absolutely really good. And we got a decent rejection here back on the 25th. Decent rejection here out of this lower zone down here in Fib, around the 12 cents, 12 and I said 12.3 lower. We got a decent rejection here and a strong bounce off of the 14, almost taking us up to, well, literally took us up to, we closed below it, but it took us up to the 72, which was over the 200 and the 72. The 200 is this red line here that I'm highlighting right now, and the 72 is going to be this orange line, and the 14 is obviously this yellow line. So now we're pretty much having a mesh where everything is coming together, right? This is going to be very telling for the future here of the coin, because we're having the 14, the 200, and the 72 all about to have this big meeting and decide what's going to be the direction, the trend ultimately for the coin. So I love looking at this here. This is pretty much I'm gonna say, it's not gonna say it's unique, but at this price point, it is certainly unique. Because typically you'll have these type of consolidations happen on like lower price points than what we're seeing right now. So we are, as of today, we are getting a rejection here, it looks like, off of the 72. But it's a very small price move, not a big move down. So this could certainly be a smaller candle and just kind of be in between the 200 and the 72, which will also be very bullish for this signal here, especially in the short-term time frame, because we're about to have, there's a couple things that can happen here. We're about to have the 14, which can possibly pass the 200 and the 72. Now, obviously, that's going to be probably the most bullish signal I've seen this. No, not even probably. That would be the most bullish signal I've seen this entire run, right? This would be, I would say that would certainly put us in trajectory here to have a major move to the upside and possibly even get back into this zone here around the 18 to 22 cents mark, so that we can start having some of those higher price point conversations. And we also have the consolidation here because the 72 is flattening, right? The 200 is going to be more so kind of doing its own thing, because it's going to take a lot of movement and sustained price action to actually curb the 200. So regardless of what happens here, like in the next month or couple months or so, the 200 is more so going to be in this range regardless. So the question is, what's going to happen with the 72 and the 14? The 14, this 72 is the one that's flattening because of the sustained price action that we see here. The curve that we're seeing is the 14, right? So that is the current trend ultimately that we're on, which is a sustained price action here. The dip, for the most part, has peaked thus far, and we are looking like we're getting ready to fill the other half of this lip of the bowl here, which will put us somewhere at around like 16 cents. But what we're looking at here is a reversal of the trend here around the 14. So we're possibly getting ready to see that very strong indicator as far as from the upside of that 14, the 200 and the 72. Some of the things that we need to look for here, obviously, the thing about this trend is this can happen relatively quickly, especially if we're monitoring like Bitcoin's price action. We'll take a look at that in a moment, but these types of moves to the upside can happen relatively quickly. I want to zoom out and show you something here where we had the smaller candles and a series of red, kind of like what we're having here between the 22nd and the 25th. It's the red candles. Then we have the green, and they're saying, okay, well, will this happen relatively quickly? This is a very strong indicator, right? If we look back here around the same time frame, you'll see around May 2nd, we had this series of red, came down to this area, roughly where we are now. You can take a look at the dotted line and conclude it over to the right, and you'll be able to see that. And then we had some major moves here, right? So liquidity exists in this zone. We've shown this a few times, right? Major moves here to the upside. You can see this again, even back on March 20th. You can see the strength of these moves here. Excuse me. What is this? The 20th. Excuse me. So the candle and the price action movement, you've seen this continuously on this trend around this time, right? So, and you can take a look at the dotted line to get an idea. To look at, for those of you that chart as well, March 20th, March 21st, you'll see the strength of those candles here going to the upside, right? And then again, if you want to go back even further, you can look back on like February 29th, February 30th, excuse me, February 30th, March 1st, and you'll be able to see the strength of this movement as well here, right? So this is a very infamous zone for getting powerful movements to the upside, right? We've done it at least 3 times thus far on the uptick. So just kind of look for that, because again, things go slow until they don't. So that's something that we can ultimately look for as kind of a confirming signal, because getting the unique thing is you can kind of chart this with like 14s and the moving averages and say, okay, well, this is the current trend. But when you have candles that big and that kind of price action is leaping within a day or two, the candles are going to be, these indicators here are going to have time to catch up. So that means that you can say, okay, this is foretelling, saying, hey, we're looking to have this move to the upside. This will be great if we can get these golden crosses. That'd be awesome here. But then you have those 2 bigger candles here, and it leaps up to around like 16 cents. These candles here, the 14 is going to have to try to catch up. Don't expect a reaction out of the 72 and certainly not out of the 200. But the 14 is going to have to try to catch up with that as time progresses. So just kind of look at that. And if you are thinking about positioning or keeping your ear to the ground as far as the price action, just know that those candles that we've seen thus far on this trend are relatively strong, and they're bigger candles. And again, this here is we're at 12 cents. Let's see, what's this? May 2nd, we were at 12.47, right? And May 4th, we peaked at 16.96, which is almost 17 cents. You're not going to catch, unless you're looking at a much shorter time frame, much shorter moving averages. You're not going to be able to, catch that right then. You're going to have to be charting it and looking at it and getting like those projections here, looking at previous pools of liquidity in order for you to kind of come to those conclusions. So hopefully for those of you looking at price action, that can kind of position you to kind of have some expectations here over the next few days here, and ultimately as we kind of get closer here with the 14, because as long as we're above it, the 14 is going to continue rising. So hopefully that can kind of position you with your expectations here in the market. I think that if we're looking at these price actions, we can certainly have that potential here to have that leap up to around the 16 cents level. And as we get those confirmations, if we're seeing that overall in the macros, I believe from like Bitcoin and market trends as well, that can push us into this next zone here. Then we can start talking about the 22 cents level, right? These indicators, having a consecutive golden crosses, 272, that should be a strong signal overall in the market. But again, it's a little bigger than that. Let's see this Coinbase. Let's see. But ultimately, this is what we're looking at here. Bitcoin has already done it. We've crossed the 200, and Bitcoin ascended from around 58,000 to, before we hit the 72, we hit 64,000, right? And now Bitcoin's doing it again, another golden cross here at the 64,000 mark, and we're starting the uptrend. Because this is what we were talking about. I know some of the people that were charting the golden cross a few months ago with Dogecoin, like, oh, the golden cross doesn't work. Foolishness. It's a signal for a reason here. And like most times it works. And you can see evidence here when you're having like these death crosses here. The asset goes down. The crosses here, you typically have those retests, 2 retests here. So that's ultimately what we're going to look for anyway. Speaking of retest, this will be a great indicator here around that 70,000 mark, 71,000. That'll be a great indicator for the strength of this movement, and then ultimately breaking the all-time high and the market moving higher. That's going to be a good thing here. That 71,000 mark roughly is going to be that's going to be a major deciding factor here, and that's what kind of you can get some confirmation, because more than likely this will move first, so you'll be able to kind of get an idea of the price movement for for Doge or any of the coins that you're charting, especially if they're in the top 10. This will kind of confirm those price action, those moving averages that we're seeing, and the probability of them coming to fruition. So this golden cross is looking really, really good here for Bitcoin and for Doge, the positioning of it. So I'm expecting this to kind of work out if we can have a good retest here and break at the 71K for Bitcoin. So that is my my price update. Let me know you guys think your thoughts. If you believe that this is going to be the test, I'm kind of waiting to see. We've had a few, but I do believe that as we pivot through Q3 here and go into Q4, we're going to see some of these levels broken, and we're going to ascend higher. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Like, share the video, leave a comment. And if you have not, please consider subscribing to help us get to 100K before Bitcoin. I appreciate all of you, and I'll see you guys in the next video.